Many people have asked me what it is like to have Asperger Syndrome. So I thought I would give everyone my opinion. It is a total blast. Every day is a good day to be an Asp. No problems whatsoever. That was a joke. Ha 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 ha. I realize however that many Asps might not get that. Especially with this voice modulator. We do not always get humor. This is me smiling. It is actually how many of us smile. I will start with the 6 senses. While Asps only have to deal with 5 heightened senses, I do have a 6th sense that is quite strong. It causes problems on its own. And yes, before you ask, I do see dead people. First comes the light. And that light is most often too bright for our very sensitive eyes. People have asked me why it is so dark in my apartment. Because I cannot keep the blinds open. Otherwise I would have to walk around all day wearing sunglasses inside. That would be annoying. On the upside, my night vision is excellent. Next is one's sense of smell. With Asps it can be far stronger or heightened than normal. That can prove to be problematic for young children or adults later. My job, for example, is a dishwasher in a kitchen. The smell can get pretty intense and annoying, but I have learned to deal with it. Dishwashing is also quite repetitive and is often considered monotonous, but that is my kind of job. Doing the same simple, mundane task for hours is fine for most Asps. Also, it gets tremendously loud at times, which brings me to the next one. Noise. I always think of the Grinch when discussing this and how he complained about all the noise made by the Who's down in Whoville. I can empathize with that. A friend of mine used to always flinch and cover his ears when watching fireworks on July 4th. Not because he was afraid, but because the sound of the explosion is painful. I had the same problem with movies and cars when I was little. Then as a teen I attended an AC/DC concert and things were easier after that. Still to this day I cannot wait to get home to the quiet of my place. My ears are so sensitive. I have heard a dog whistle more than once. Have you ever heard a dog whistle? Just as well. Mostly they just whistle Dixie. Ha ha ha. I made another funny. But seriously, I can and have picked up ultra high frequency sound. Taste is next. We are typically very picky eaters. Our taste buds are unusually sensitive. They are also very attuned to textures of various foods. I do not like the texture of pudding or jello, for example. It is just not for me. And finally, touch. There are reasons that Asps can at times appear cold. We do not smile much, have difficulty understanding and showing emotions, and typically shy away from physical contact. Not just because we do not want to be social. Our skin is often hypersensitive. I have this problem. It is nothing personal. Just the sensitivity can be bothersome. It can also be seen as an invasion of space, and our personal space bubble is rather large. How about other aspects of the autistic or Asperger's personality? There is a great deal always going on in our heads. We focus on what we are doing, our own agenda, and have a tendency to ignore social situations. As I mentioned, emotions sometimes elude us and many struggle to empathize with neurotypical people. I have watched TV shows like Smallville, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Glee in order to help comprehend relationships and drama. They are also tremendously entertaining. With me, I am unusually empathic. Still, I have difficulty comprehending the emotions coming across. With Asps it can go either way. Very empathic or not at all. Still, we are generally very caring and loving people who want to help. It is just that our feelings do not really show very well. We just do not express as much as a neurotypical person. We are, however, very driven, motivated, and above all logical. We are three-dimensional thinkers with excellent memories. We have very rigid habits, likes and dislikes that are unlikely to change. We see, develop, and follow patterns and rituals. For instance, an Asp may eat dinner at the same time every evening. Deviation from that schedule could really bother that person or throw them into a panic. We do not normally do well with change. It is simply harder for us to deal with. We are eccentric, single-minded, and need to stim frequently. Stimming is a way of calming down from a meltdown or general stress and anxiety which ramps up very quickly. Aspies are often uncoordinated or can appear clumsy. That is natural for our bodies. However, many of us do not take such criticism well. There are times when we will simply shut down in intensely stressful public situations. Or simply escape. On a side note, I suspect that the man that created the first computer had Asperger's Syndrome. Then he was arrested for being gay. This is why Aspies do not get neurotypicals. Seriously. Collecting is another common trait with Asperger's, and it helps us focus on something positive and fun. I collect books, video games, action figures, and figurines. Mostly comic book related things, but also the paranormal is one of my obsessive interests. Most of us seem to have unusual preoccupations or intense focus on certain subjects. Aspies may also not want to talk very much because of common speech impediments. Not all of us have them, but it can be hard for those of us who do. This is why I use a voice modulator. My real voice is much sexier. Just saying. There is also the problem of not always understanding humor, like I mentioned before. And not getting the hang of body language, verbiage, and such. Relationships can be confounding for a lot of Aspies. I for one have trouble understanding drama. I believe that most problems can be solved with logic and reasoning, but most neurotypical people do not seem to think like that. Although we can be tremendously passionate, it doesn't always show. We do have great attention to detail though, and tend to be honest to a fault. We do take things personally, which makes us defensive. But loyalty is our strong suit. The world outside our door is cold, hard, loud, noisy, bright, confusing, confounding, befuddling, awkward, disgusting if you are a germaphobe like me, angry, and altogether illogical. That is why many people with Asperger's syndrome today have to grab their books, notebooks, and laptops, put on their sunglasses, steel themselves up, throw open the front door, and then change their minds and head back in to order a pizza, hang out with their pets, and play video games or watch Netflix. I have gone over just a few of the things that make us different or special, but there is so much more. For one thing, many of our bodies cannot properly process protein, so it is difficult to gain or maintain muscle. I have this problem, but some may not. Nothing is set in stone, except for the fact that we are so diverse. And have so much to give to those kind people that will try to not judge. We need to get out there. It is important to step out of our comfort zone and face the unknown. We are explorers and pioneers. People with Asperger's have a different perspective. We look at things in ways that others may not. In our possession is another piece of the giant puzzle. If only more people would let us work on the puzzle together. We are awesome. We can feel alien. We are autistic. But in the end, we are only human.